Game started.
Alessandro from Brazil. Okay, let's see, a time for e4, I guess. Okay, Rui Lopez, or Italian game. No, a Philidor defense. Okay. d4 is the main move, although bishop c4 is also a move. And this exchange seems to be the modern way of playing it. So black accepts slightly less space, but he gets all his pieces out. Put some pressure on my knights here. So you can play knight c6 at some point, attacking my knight. And then if I take, then this knight can go. But I think this is all okay. I just keep developing. He's not playing knight c6. That's interesting. So his idea is to blockade the e4 square, e5. And my idea is to play f4, so he can't blockade that pawn. So f4 now. I think that's good. And then if this knight gets chased away, it can come back to f3 and help with the kingside attack. And keeps a piece from showing up on e5. And after, if I get this knight back to f3, then I can threaten e5 myself and harassing this bishop. It's not exactly trapping it, but could make things a bit awkward, especially if I had a rook on the d file. With the rook on the d file, the move e5 would be very strong because this pawn would be pinned. So maybe bishop e3, queen e1, rook d1, e5, and if pawn takes, I get a tempo with the knight, some kind of discovery. He chases the knight immediately. Okay, so that settles that question. Yeah, this is a common idea. Usually this move c5 is played easier. I mean, in this sort of modern Philidor setup, it's a common idea. And okay, so he goes after the doubling of the pawns. But he had to give up a bishop to do that, so I have the advantage of the bishop pair, and he's got a backwards pawn on d6, which is not always such a big deal. So I want to leave my pawns as they are. They're restricting this knight. And I want to keep developing my pieces. But how do I develop them? Yeah, let's do rook rook b1. At least that makes sense. Put a rook on an open file, hit this pawn, keep his bishop tied down. Okay, and then he's going after my e pawn, which needs defense. Yeah, he's going to get to open up the e file. If I push, he can just take it. That would kind of equalize things. He's got enough force to hold on to that pawn. So I guess I should take, which helps him a little bit. He can develop his bishop here now. Yeah, he went there with the rook, so that puts pressure on my pawn. So I can bring my knight around. So rook and bishop now are defending my pawn. My f-pawn. I can play my bishop to g4, kicking his knight. I can bring my rook over here to, my knight. I can bring my knight to e4, hitting the d6 pawn. still have bishop g4 as a possibility. But if he lets me, I'll just take this pawn. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to take that pawn. And sometime maybe I can take advantage of his king being somewhat exposed here. He could just play d5 here, actually. d5. Well, and then I take the c pawn. But d5 is supported by his queen and his rook. I was thinking also if I wanted to check on this diagonal, bishop to c4 would run into d5, forking those pieces. So a bit unfortunate. Okay, so he's guarding this diagonal but giving up the pawn. If I take with the knight, can he pin my knight somehow? Well, I'm hitting his rook and my queen is defended. So knight takes and the rook moves. The rook could go there. Ah, that's what it is. Knight takes and rook here kind of forks my queen and my rook. So let's first kick the knight. I mean, kick the rook and see if he's going to that square or not. If he hits my queen, I can take his bishop with check. So rook rook d5 is not a possible move here. I'm just threatening to take his bishop with check and then win the rook. So, and his bishop is loose. So he's got, he's losing material. He has no move with the rook that defends the bishop. So I think I've found a win here. It's always a bit tricky to get your rooks active early in the game. You have to be very, very precise. There's a strong chess player named Levon Aronian who had some great games where he brought his rook out early and moved it around on the board, but it takes a really strong player to be able to get away with stuff like that. When there's lots of minor pieces, it's just too easy. Lots of minor pieces and pawns, it's just too easy for the rook to get into trouble and get trapped, which is why it usually sits on the back rank until later in the game and things have opened up a bit. So we'll give Alessandro some time here, see if he finds a solution. Yeah, he didn't, so I'm going to take that. And now it's safe for me to take here. Or is it? Actually, not quite safe. There's a check now. But if I give the check, he brings the bishop back. Okay, if I take with the knight, what he has bishop takes c2 here, hitting my queen. And if I move my queen, because I want to stay defending the knight, then he can grab my rook. So if I grab the pawn, he grabs the pawn, I would take his bishop. His queen would take my knight. That's not too bad, really, but probably have better. Like if I just take with the queen here, maybe. Now he can take my knight. I did not do that well. Yeah, so now I trade queens, and he's got two pieces for my rook. Tisk tisk. Yeah, so I should have gone the other way. Well, let's okay, my queen is hanging. Let's not get too crazy. Take there. This is still interesting. It's two rooks and a bishop against a rook, two knights and a bishop. So basically a rook for two knights, and I have an extra pawn at the moment, but he can grab a pawn. He didn't do that. Well, that's curious. What was that move for? I mean, his bishop was not loose. I don't understand that one. those knights are looking pretty active. Maybe this square for my bishop. If I bring my bishop back here, then this pawn is hanging. So okay, so let's hit his bishop. Let's see if he wants to defend it somehow. Yes, so he's defending with the knight and also with the rook. And he has a discovered attack here, check, attacking my rook. But so far, that's not a problem. So if bishop takes, pawn takes. I'm not sure about that. Let's push this pawn. This bishop is somewhat pinned because his rook is not defended. Okay, so now I can take the knight, he takes, and then I can take the bishop, and then he cannot check me with his knight. The knight has no checks. So this is getting 2 pieces for the rook, and it'll leave me an exchange up.
Check.
You can throw in the check, yeah. But when it comes down to it, the situation is he's got a knight, and he has a rook and a knight, and I have 2 rooks. So, and if he moves the knight, I guess this is not so simple. He can defend with the king. Okay, I better, instead of trying to pin his knight, I'm going to try and activate my rook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 pawns here.
Check.
2, 3, 4. 5 pawns against 4. I need to round up some pawns, so that's what, when you have your extra material, that's one thing you can do with it. That's interesting. So now if I go after his knight again, his king can still take this pawn. So rook here. Oh, the pawn is defended. This is getting tricky. Okay, maybe rook here. Yeah, I'm getting low on time. Okay, let's see. Move my rook somewhere. I want to keep keep his pieces off of this row, so my king is safe. He can check me here. The knight. Knights are tricky pieces. He can also take my pawn. Could check and take pawn, but probably that's fine too, what he did. Okay, knight there, check, are both okay. And rook here, check is annoying.
Check.
It just drives me back. But it takes up the square his knight could go to. Okay, well, I get a pawn at least. This outside pass pawn will be useful. He's still got a check here. But he was avoiding, didn't want to lose more material, huh? Okay, I'll just push my passed pawn.
Check.
Yep. Okay, keep pushing. It's got a check here. I can just walk here, though. Got his rook there. Okay, so I need to defend that. So I'm wondering if I can play check. King moves. Push the pawn. Can take my rook, and then I get a queen. So check. King attacks my rook. Push the pawn. And the knight can't stop it from queening. And the rook can't stop it from queening. So let's try this. It's like trading my rook for a queen. Yeah, there's no way you can guard this square that I see. Okay, so is he trying to get two things? Let's get the queen here. He can only take one of my rooks, so it still comes out the same. I get a rook for a queen for my rook. So what's the simplest way, right? Here, queen here, check. Looks pretty good, so let's throw that in.
Check.
Forces his king to this one square. Then let's go here to guard against this pawn becoming a queen.
Check.
And let's see, where's his knight? His knight is there, so I have to be careful against the knight checks.
Check.
My king can go here. If he checks me again, I can take the pawn. We'll eventually escape these checks and be able to mate him, I think. Okay, so he's thinking again. This is tough. I'm a queen up. He has this pawn, which could become a queen, and then he'd have the advantage. But if I can stop it,
Black
I'm winning.
resigns.
Yeah, no way to do it. Okay, good game. I will upload this and do a post-mortem. See you guys later. Bye.